Hello everybody, and welcome to the first RPG Makers video that will be released, hopefully weekly, but if not bi-weekly. At least every other week, at the very least. That's what we'll be doing. For this first episode, I intended simply to show the process of designing a terrain, landscape type of thing. Not exactly like this because, well, it's going to take a while to recreate this, but we'll get there in due time. For now, I just intend on doing something simpler. Basic layout. So, first, we'll probably start by opening Roblox Studio, which would be a first good move. And one thing we will be doing is you'll need to hit switch to classic view, and we will need a certain plugin, or not exactly need, but it would be probably good to get it. Plugins and Terraingle, DataBrain's Terraingle plugin. I've already installed it, so if you haven't, you'll see install here, but what this will allow us to do is create triangular terrain that'll look really good once we pack it up with canyon walls and whatnot. It takes a little bit of learning, but once you get the gist of it, it's brilliant. An awesome tool, honestly. Alright, so we're going to head back. Hit the little home icon to get this menu again. And because we are starting out fresh, we will open a new base plate. Now this base plate here is going to be completely useless. The terrain is going to be generated in the middle of it, starting with the center as an origin. And so this will just be in our way, so we'll just use it to like generate the terrain. Polygon, whatever. It generates a area of polygons or something like that. I don't really know the specifics, but you should see it up here in your toolbar. If yours doesn't look like mine, that's because I went into Preferences under Studio, and I actually switched it from the new one, which is Ribbon Bar, and I switched it back to System Menu because I've been using it for the past 4 years. Why change now? Honestly, I don't like the new one at all. Anyway, what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to click on the tree-looking thing there. It'll bring up this small plugin menu. What we're going to want to do is set just some sizes. We probably want it twice the size of a base plate is a good start, so 1024 in both directions. I'm still not entirely sure what divisions are. I haven't given it enough time or tested it enough to really know. But I guess we could just set it to 26 or whatever you feel like doing. I have no idea what that affects. Now you can choose any color here. I prefer to go medium green. It's kind of like a muted color that looks really good on most landscapes. You want to hit just generate area. And it will spawn here. Yeah, and that's what it's going to look like. If you notice on the lighting, each piece is an individual square. I currently have outlines enabled, but it makes it look bad. Oh, what am I doing? It makes it look bad when you actually get started on building your terrain. So we'll turn outlines off once we're finished. And you could do that, go into lighting, turn outlines off. Alright. Now, this base plate, it's completely useless, so we'll just get rid of that. This is where the actual work begins. Now, before we get started playing with these tools, what I want to do is I want to set up an outline. Basically, what that means is, well, let's lock it so we don't move it out of place, but basically what that means is we're going to set up walls that'll show the general area here. To do this, we'll go to Add Basic Objects. If yours isn't up here, isn't over here, I mean, it'll be up here. I kind of adjusted setting all my tools to the side and these as well, because this got full of plugins, and I can't figure out how to keep this stupid terrain thing off. I really don't mess with Roblox's terrain system. So I guess I could just move that and have more space for my plugins, but oh well. Anyway, you want to go to Basic Objects, let's throw in a part. This will give us just a basic part that has absolutely no modifications whatsoever. We're going to want to start with slate, medium stone gray. You could do any of the gray colors or actually whatever color you want. It doesn't really matter. I'm just doing this as an example. We'll go anchored. Anchored is important though. If it isn't anchored with what we're about to do, it'll fly all over the place and act like a crazy monkey. So, form factor symmetric, keep all these normal, unless you know what you're doing. Don't do smooth it out, so each of the sides are smooth. That actually decreases lag quite often, so it's useful. Alright. Unfortunately, playing on this triangle thing is going to make your parts go rotated. So make sure typically you're on one stud, because that makes everything simpler. But we'll want to start off by creating canyon walls. And we're going to give a little margin, because if we up the terrain any of these places, this edge is going to come up like that, generally speaking. So to make sure it doesn't look all choppy, we'll give it a little bit of margin. Just make it fairly tall. Thickness doesn't really matter. It's not all really important. But as you're going about the walls here, you're going to want to, yeah, so it gets a little funky at times. So I just switch between these two tools. I recommend turning this collision check off. It enables you to, like, put things through. Makes life a little bit easier when you're trying to create a terrain. Just keep sizing it. And I'm going to fast forward here, but the general idea remains the same. Going around, you'll want to create variations so it looks a little more natural. For these curves, or these edges here, you could just go and do something like this. Oh, I'll also show you another way of doing it. Let's create another block, twist it around, we'll bring it over, down. We don't want it touching for this example. This is an example of a plugin. If you want to know what it is, I'll show you here in a moment. But we'll choose gap fill. It's this weird looking thing here, and we'll probably go best guess for this one. Nah, that didn't work out. Sometimes it does some of this funky stuff, but honestly, I've really enjoyed the convenience of it. You'll have to adjust the sizes sometimes, unless you like do one stud and then modify it slightly. But overall, it's a pretty helpful tool, if not a little wonky. I don't know why it shoots it all the way back out there. Shouldn't even be necessary. Dang it! I hope someday they perfect the tools in Studio. That'll be really nice. I don't even know I generated that part, but just tuck it under there, because then you have your like little turns and corners and whatnot. And basically you're going to want to just do that around the entire area. It'll take a little time, so here forward, I'll be fast forwarding. Alright, so I came back for a second because to show another tip in your creation, but like first keep it even. This got horribly undersized compared to the rest of that area over there, so we'll have to figure out some way to utilize that. But if you want to create some other alterations, then you could go to the 5th stud increment. That's what this little 1/5 thing is. And it'll allow you to make smaller movements, or smaller adjustments to the blocks, which will allow you to do different things with a little more precision, like smaller alterations in the terrain. Look a little more natural because it's different in places. But what you want to do is just kind of like add these little features around. You could also do this after you build the square box, but if you don't want to add like the square box, you can go ahead and just do this. You could always add things later. The order of it doesn't really matter, it's just a matter of making it look not completely and totally uneven, all weird like. I mean, that did not end up good at all. Probably just oversize it a little bit to balance it out. Apparently we're going for a more blocky feeling. That's not what I originally intended, but oh well. Adjustments are easy enough. We can really just get rid of that part now. There we go. That looks a little more balanced. But yes, that is one tip I wanted to share. You can mess with that however you like. Back to the fast forward. Alright, so actually I'm going to jump back in here again because I'm going to do something I hadn't originally planned. On this side, I think we should add a beach leading into the ocean. Just like this area will lead onto a beach in this corner. For this, we'll want to straighten this part out. Get it across on this edge. Alright. Now, to create a beach, you can actually do it with the Terraingle plugin, which I will show off in a minute. Or no, I think I could do it now. Alright, now that you've got your basic setup here, you don't have to do the beach thing, that's just something I plan on doing. You can actually begin adding the details for your map here. If you want to like reduce the edginess of it, you can kind of smooth out the terrain a bit. And now it is time to use Terraingle. The brush size, this Terraingle works apparently on something like a brush. I'm going to turn it off real quick and then let's select terrain group, select existing. Alright. That way I'm not having any tools selected over here. What this will do is this actually, when you click, it sees sort of a brush, a radius around where you click, and it'll affect the parts around surrounding where you click. So if the brush size is big enough, you could actually click right there and it'll spread to these vertices all around. So brush size affects how much terrain in one area will be affected. Brush hardness, however, is how much it'll increment or decrement at any time. This button is for moving the terrain up, this for moving it down. I don't actually know what this does. I haven't messed with that. And level, I believe, does exactly what it says. I don't know that either. For now, we just have to worry about the up and down things. So if you want to modify the terrain, you have to click on these center points. But unfortunately, it would seem you've got to up the hardness quite a bit to actually get it to... Apparently the brush size, so... There we go. Show the vertices. There we go, now you can... Yeah, there we go. Now you can see what you can edit around here. So clicking on these things will affect the terrain. And everything around the area will bend up along with it. So You get these flat areas leading up to a hill, which we can also make flat. So let's see if we can get this even. Close enough. We'll bring up this one too. I'll bring up this plate as well. So we can see if we can get a flat hill surface here. Alright, it's generally flat. Yeah, there we go. There's a flat surface surrounded by this hill area. And increase the brush size, and we can click around here. Actually, let's increase it to a little more than 100. Just modify larger parts of the terrain at once. These we can lower the brush size to about 100, up the hardness, affect the areas around the walls. Give it more of a natural feel, I guess. These over here can be like an area for mining, because we can give it the slate texture, and then just put rocks or mining nodes here. And just do something like this. And that'll be about it. Okay. Now, if I'm thinking about creating something a little more interesting, you can also go down. So, you can easily make the stuff around also go down. And there's a lot of cool things you can do with making things go down, as I will show in a moment. Alright, this is far down enough, I think. Yeah. So what you can do, what I meant by adding details earlier, I'll turn off Terraingle for now so we don't accidentally screw with something, is let's grab another slate part. There we go. Come on. Size it down a bit. I recommend keeping resizing to the one stud part. Doing it in fifth stud sometimes screws things up if you want to put something on top of it. One stud just makes it all easier. What you could easily do when you make it go down, just this into the ground a bit, rotate it like so. We can copy that block, shoot it the other side, then we'll move it over. Now let's set a couple blocks up here to begin an arch. This is going to take a little interesting work here. Something actually I've never done before. Okay. So here we've got kind of an arch type thing set up. Oh man, that's going to be really bad once we try to grab fill it. There we go. Now this is where we'll try to use the gap fill plugin to see if we can make something interesting. Oh, that's good. There we go. Okay. So now we'll use gap fill. Oh, that made something weird. But I think if we resize it, it'll actually look pretty cool. We just need to push it back into the block. Here we go. Just push it all back in. This doesn't look like a natural rock at all, actually. That's kind of odd. I mean, it'll stand because physics, but that's interesting, actually. And we'll do the same to this side. It still looks a little awkward, but it looks better than it did, so it's passable for now. And then we can do the same for up here. and then just pile it all in. It's a little work to get this right, but once you learn the gist of it, creating terrains or whatever, it's fairly simplified and it's really fun to see what weird things you can make. Honestly, I wish it was a little more on par with putting things together, but oh well. Just have to deal with the way it is. Alright, so now that we've got our arch thing going on here, you can go ahead and we can make these go a little more down. Kind of a wall system around this area. Alright, so that sets up that part. And we could do the, just be a little lazy. Oh no, that sometimes does it to me. Alright. We'll just spin this around. Put it on the other side. No one will be able to really tell too much unless they watch this video. And then even then we can like adjust it somewhat to be a little more fascinating. And we could do the same to the other side. That's all fine and dandy. Okay, I like that. Pretty nicely. Actually, what we could do is use our not gap fill, Terraingle, group, select existing. What we can actually do is bring this down a little more, actually. Give it more of a dip here. Just to create some more unique terrain. A little pizzazzy. Pizzazzy anyway. Alright. Now that we've got that, another detail we could add is this small hill-like part. Let's bring this into the block over. And just set it down into this ground. We'll stick another block on top of it. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to throw up hardness to maximum. I'm going to see if I can get, oh man, selecting tools messes it up. You gotta start and stop it, select the group, select existing. Alright, what I'm going to do is see if I can get this grass, or this terrain around it, to come up. Grant access to this hill. Just like surround the hill. And I will show you what I will do with that in just a moment. Come on, let you go. But yes, this Terraingle tool will go through any terrain. It will not go through any block. It'll just increase it, increment it as you will. You can make all sorts of neat creations with it. Alright, so now we got it like this. Now the cool thing about Terraingle, let's select here so that streamline the next time we have to turn it on. The cool thing about Terraingle is that each individual triangle that you see can be modified. So we can just go around here with this tool, change the material to slate. It is a bit of a tedious process to do this, but in the end, the effect is totally worth it. Color the inside there. Oh, that part's still grass. Anyone with a stupidly good eye could find that and complain that your place isn't perfect and give you a thumbs down because you forgot that one part was colored grass. This slant, I don't really like how sharp that is, but we can adjust that real quickly. Unfortunately, it'll reset some of these parts to grass, but we should be able to redo that fairly quickly. Yeah, change it all to rock. And there you have it. An interesting hill thing, I guess. And this flat part on top, but we can actually just kind of delete that. Actually, makes its own kind of hill thing. You could just leave it the way it is. Delete that brick entirely. Change these two parts up here. Voila! Now we have this hill in the center of the area. I will leave this hill grass because it's smaller and, you know, things like that. Alright, so I think, well actually, let's see if we can make this into a doable sand pit. Could we make this into a sand pit? No, but we can recolor this grass around the edges. Nope, don't want to recolor the stone, just the grass. Okay, we'll make this pit here have dead grass inside it. Now, when you're coloring it up like this, it does get a little linear, just like straight across. But I still think the effect it produces is quite worth the downsides. Besides, if you want to make it a little more particular, you could go in here with a fine-tooth comb and just modify those parts anyway. So, it's not too big of a deal anyway. Kind of affect the parts outside here, as if the depth is spreading a little. So you could put like skeletons or ghosts or scorpions or something in there. Just have it like a pit of poisony doom. And there you have it. And that concludes the first part of this episode. We'll be doing another part where we make the beach, add some other details around here such as trees and whatnot. And so I will see you guys next episode. Battle on.